Hi everyone, it's Raina. So this is a video on how to attract a Scorpio lover. And for full disclosure, I have to admit that I have done this video over again. And I can admit when I was wrong, and I think that I was a little bit too negative in the first version of this, not because, as somebody suggested, that I have abandonment issues over a Scorpio person. I've never had a relationship with a Scorpio person, but simply because I was trying to convey something in a way that came out differently than I wanted it to. And basically, where I was going with this is that I don't think that a person should casually get into a relationship with a Scorpio. I was talking about the emotional intensity of Scorpio, which is famous. And in addition to this, Scorpio is a fixed sign. It's a fixed water sign. So Scorpio's emotions, not only are they intense, but they're very long-lasting. They're not fickle people. They don't just like flit from flower to flower, like maybe a Gemini person, or even a Libra person can do that as well, where the emotional involvement is not at the level that prevents them from forming new affection for somebody. A Scorpio person loves deeply and for a long time. And so, coupled with other traits that they have, you want to be mindful of the way that they perceive life and the way they perceive love, and not to play with them, not to toy with them, even if you're not intending to, because it could end up creating problems for you as well. When you understand the nature of Scorpio, you know going into it how they perceive relationships. So, looking at the positive traits of Scorpio, Scorpio is a very feeling sign, being a water sign. Even if on the surface they can come across in a way that seems more lighthearted. And if their rising sign especially is in an air sign, then they may have a more outwardly sociable nature. Even chatty. If their rising sign or their moon sign is in Gemini, they can come off very glib and lighthearted, but that is just the surface. When you get to know them, you understand how deep it goes. And if they have a rising sign that is like an earth sign or a moon sign that's an earth sign, they can come off even sometimes as dry and very logical in that, the practical kind of a way that also doesn't really show how emotional they are. For Scorpio, power is everything. And so this is one of the reasons why Scorpio gets the rap. If you want to call it the bad rap, you can, but I think that most Scorpio people would agree that they tend to withhold a part of themselves with others. And this is in order to maintain that sense of personal power, because there's a feeling that if people know too much about you, they can use it against you. And so if you're dealing with a Scorpio person and you're trying to probe them for more information, you may be met with something that is, akin to consternation on their part, where they do not like that, because this is another thing. This is not saying anything negative per se, because sometimes there's a reason for this, but Scorpio people can have trust issues. And this is one of the reasons why you have to be mindful and respectful of a Scorpio person. You want to be able to be sensitive enough for these people, because they are very sensitive. They're compassionate in their own way. One of the observations I made in my first video is that Scorpio people are very much attracted to people who exude a sense of confidence and, you know, I would even say like a can-do spirit. Scorpio is ruled by both Pluto and Mars. And so the Mars part of Scorpio sometimes gets left out. We always talk about those Plutonian traits that are, you know, dealing with the secrets and the sexual energy. But the Mars part is very much about competition and being even like ambitious. That can be too, well, you know, that could be Pluto as well. And so they admire those qualities in other people. If you're somebody who is a perennial victim, that will not sit well with Scorpio. So try to be your best self. Scorpio people, though, are compassionate, and I want to kind of emphasize that this time around. I do believe, though, that Scorpios are turned off by weakness. And so if you're the kind of person who is looking for somebody to save you, then you've picked the wrong person, although they will try to heal you. Scorpio can be a big healer. Pluto is connected with healing, transformation. You know, transformation is a form of healing. So that is something that they specialize in. But you have to have a positive mindset as well. You know, you can't just go into a relationship and act like the other person is there to rescue you. And that's true, obviously, for any relationship with any sign. But I just wanted to kind of keep this more positive. The other thing, too, is that Scorpio people really are loyal. So they demand the same type of loyalty. Now, if you're the kind of person who feels that monogamy is passé or overrated, then this may not be the relationship for you. I'm sure there are Scorpio people who are polyamorous and go that direction. But I would wager that the typical Scorpio person is a one-on-one man or woman. They don't want anyone else in that relationship. And so it's important to honor this preference in them by being that type of person. So I'm letting you know on the front end that, like I said earlier, you don't want to be a fickle person. You want to be somebody who knows what you want, because Scorpios know what they want. And they are very sure of themselves. And so you should be sure of yourself. Don't be the kind of person who is so changeable from day to day that you don't know what your own opinions are about things. A Scorpio person knows what they think about things. Along the same lines of this, I think that because Scorpios are very, sure of their opinions on things, and there doesn't tend to be a gray area, you should definitely have certain things in life that you are passionate about. And, when I think of Scorpio, that Mars part might be the passion, but the Pluto part can be obsession. And so if you don't have any kind of interests that kind of consume you, or at the very least that fascinate you, then the Scorpio person may think that you're kind of lightweight, that you don't have a lot of gravitas, and that you're not really engaging life at the deepest level. And so even if the two of you don't share the same interests in all cases, I think the Scorpio person will appreciate the fact that you do have a certain attitude towards life that is similar to theirs, in that you care enough about it, that you are interested, that you're plugged in, that you are, that intensity that they bring in a general sense, it should be matched by you, at least in one area of your life, that you have some kind of a thing. Maybe you already have had children and you are fiercely loving of them and they're everything to you. That's an example of that. Or you really love what you do. Or you have a hobby that you just are in love with. Those kind of things a Scorpio person can relate to, because people who kind of skim the surface of life can seem very shallow to a Scorpio person. Same with the kind of things that you talk about. Remember that Scorpio rules the 8th house in astrology, and death, we always say sex, death, and other people's money. Well, I mean, how much can you talk about money? Maybe it's possible, but really about death. I'm going to leave out the sex part, but the death issue is related to what? Spirituality, because if you don't question why you're here, or what are the secrets of life, what is really it all about, and just about kind of everybody, the psychology of others, that can be very fascinating for a Scorpio person as well. And if you're not literate in being able to analyze people's emotions, and you don't really, or just about anything, maybe conspiracy theories. If you just believe everything that you hear, and you take everything at face value, the Scorpio person never does. So they tend to be interested in conspiracy theories because they sense that they're not being told the full story. They tend to be interested in metaphysics or the occult because they tend to think that organized religion doesn't tell the full story. So it's helpful if you share that trait. And I hope that I'm conveying this sense of the complexity of the Scorpio personality, because I don't think it's easy to just pinpoint one thing or two things. But I think it's a basic way of approaching life that can either be in alignment with them, or they feel, oh, I don't think so. And usually a Scorpio person will know whether or not you're somebody that they can be with. So it's not just this arbitrary thing. They tend to be very subjective, very much based on their own personal past experiences and their desires. And they will look at you in that light and decide whether or not they're interested. So as I said in the first video, if you're interacting with a person of this sign, pay close attention to how they respond to you. If they seem indifferent, it's possible, I guess it's always possible, that they are playing coy or cool to try to act like they're not as interested as they are. I guess that's always a possibility. But in general, I would say that the other possibility is that they don't feel that really strong connection, and they go by their emotions. So if they're not feeling that strong pull, they may not invest energy into it at all. But again, there may be those wily Scorpios out there who totally have a poker face. Okay, well, I hope that I have improved on this one, and take care. Bye.